So, Tomi, what led to that bashing on The View?
Well, there is a woman over the weekend who took it upon herself to research my family history in hopes of digging up some kind of a gotcha moment, a gotcha angle to validate illegal immigration and open borders. And what she found was really shocking, guys. She found that my family who came here in the 1800s from Norway and Germany, that they spoke Norwegian and German.
Okay.
And really what she did is prove that my family came here legally, but what she was hoping to do was try to call me a hypocrite for believing in merit-based immigration.
What started as a fiery political debate on The View quickly escalated into an ancestry showdown. Sunny Hostin came for Tomi Lahren with what she thought was a bombshell, digging up Lahren's great-great-grandparents' immigration records to expose hypocrisy. It was a bold, dramatic move straight out of a soap opera. But instead of backing down, Tomi stayed cool, flipping the narrative in her favor without missing a beat. What was meant to take her down ended up giving her the spotlight. The unexpected twist turned a would-be takedown into a headline-grabbing power move, live, raw, and made for TV drama.
That immigrants come over here and they don't know anything and they're dragging us down because we all come from immigrants, including you, Tomi Lahren.
She talks about low skills. What exactly are her skills?
Her second great-grandmother had been here for 10 years, yet spoke no English. Oh my gosh. 1930 census says Tomi's 3 times great-grandmother had been here for 41 years and still spoke German. She didn't speak English either. She doesn't even know her own history. She certainly doesn't know this country's history.
So now the real question is, who actually got exposed? It all started like your typical political panel. Talk of immigration, border policy, laws, the usual adult stuff. But out of nowhere, Sunny Hostin decided to throw in some ancestry files, aiming to deliver a knockout blow. She dramatically announced on national TV, "Your great-great-grandma didn't speak English," like she just solved the mystery of conservative hypocrisy. Sunny strutted in like she'd cracked the Da Vinci Code, convinced she had the ultimate mic drop moment. But instead of shaming Tomi Lahren, the moment backfired. Hard. Tomi didn't flinch. That slick ponytail might as well have deflected the whole attack like a force field. The so-called bombshell? More like a boomerang, smacking Sunny right back in the face. And then came Tomi's cool, cutting comeback, the kind that left the studio silent and everyone watching at home, blinking in disbelief. Suddenly, the tables had turned.
I did with DNA, 23andMe, because I cannot believe the detail on your background that they were able to get.
Well, I don't have to. She did all the research for me, so I'm sure my family is very appreciative.
What about Joy saying, though, what are your skills? It's beyond research. It is personal. It is mean.
Well, of course, this is classical Joy Behar, but I would like to ask Joy Behar what her skills are, because perhaps we could swap stories. I know I watch Joy, and she seems like a highly skilled lady, but for her to attack me, that's really interesting. Those in glass houses should not throw...
What is it about Tomi Lahren that bothers him so much? The question hung in the air like it was supposed to unlock something profound. But Tomi, not even a blink. Botox or not, the woman didn't flinch. Instead, she took Sunny Hostin's gotcha moment and flipped it into a slow-burn political takedown. Yes, her ancestors didn't speak English because they were European immigrants in the 1800s. They came legally, followed the laws, worked hard, and didn't lean on hashtags or handouts. Tomi spun a petty jab into a polished immigration lecture and did it in heels, wearing that signature smirk like war paint. Meanwhile, Sunny looked stunned, like she'd just been hit with her own cue cards. By dragging Tomi's family tree into the debate, she handed her opponent a golden opportunity to rattle off her greatest hits. Legal immigration, merit-based systems, personal responsibility. Sunny brought genealogy to a policy fight and got steamrolled by historical receipts. But it didn't end there. Twitter exploded. The timeline went nuclear, flag emojis flaring, everyone suddenly moonlighting as Ellis Island scholars. Memes flew, Caps Lock got a workout. And just like that, a messy live moment turned into a full-blown culture war, trending before the credits even rolled.
What is it about you that bothers him so much?
Well, it's not just me, it's anybody who advocates for merit-based immigration or has an issue with open borders. And again, just like you said, they don't seem to understand that we on the right believe in immigration. We understand that we are a nation of immigrants, and I am proud of my heritage. However, I do believe that the immigration crisis of today is apples to oranges from what it was in the 1800s when immigrants came to this country legally, were documented, worked for themselves, asked for nothing, and built a life and a family. That has nothing to do with the illegal immigration crisis of today that we must deal with. But they don't want to acknowledge that.
And just when the chaos seemed maxed out, in came Greg Gutfeld, Fox News resident class clown with a civics twist. He didn't miss a beat, turning Sunny's Ancestry stunt into a full-blown roast. "Girl," he joked, "how you gonna play family detective when you probably haven't even mapped out your own family tree?" With a smirk, he lobbed a sharp jab. Maybe Sunny's ancestors didn't waltz into America clutching the Constitution and an English phrasebook either. "If we're playing DNA wars," he said, "maybe she should scan her own branches before throwing acorns at someone else's roots." It landed hard. Gutfeld's riff wasn't just comedy, it was a warning. If you're going to dig into someone's past on live TV, you'd better hope yours isn't hiding a few skeletons in historical garb. Because the viewers, they're not fools. They see through the theatrics. Nobody really believes serious immigration policy hinges on how someone's great-great-grandpa pronounced opportunity. That's not debate. It's distraction in designer shoes.
I have heard a lot of dumb crap come out of blue states, but this one is a real doozy. Get this. As of January 1st, New Jersey teachers will no longer be required to pass a basic literacy test. I kid you not.
Things on The View unraveled fast. Producers were probably sweating, praying for a commercial break to hit the eject button. Viewers sat wide-eyed, wondering if they were watching a political panel or the messy pilot of Real Housewives, Capitol Hill. Sunny tried to personalize the immigration debate, but ended up making herself the main event. Meanwhile, Tomi Lahren didn't flinch. She stuck to her script like it was written in Sharpie on her mirror. Legal equals good, emotional appeals equal bad. Love her or not, the woman has discipline. No yelling, no interrupting, just stone-cold confidence, locked in like a heat-seeking missile. Sunny's argument, meanwhile, started to collapse under its own weight. Then came the inevitable split-screen chaos. Tomi fans hailed her as the queen of cool comebacks, while Sunny's supporters praised her boldness for dragging Ancestry into the spotlight. And the rest of us? We just wanted someone, anyone, to explain merit-based immigration without turning it into a colonial TED Talk.
I started out at One America News with an 80-something-year-old male boss who called me a bimbo pretty freely. That was a different experience. I went to The Blaze and I worked for Glenn Beck, who I had to end up getting in a lawsuit with because he tried to fire me for saying I was pro-choice when I went on The View. So it's been a different experience at those other networks.
Every time The View tackles a real issue, it somehow derails into an emotional free-for-all. Immigration, a deeply complex topic, got reduced to a petty personality clash because Sunny went for the viral moment. Instead of making a meaningful point about assimilation, diverse immigrant journeys, or how English fluency isn't a measure of worth, she swung at Tomi Lahren's last name like it was a mic-drop weapon. It backfired. Hard. She chased a headline and got one. Just not the kind you brag about. More like the kind that gets ratioed by Twitter users with eagle avatars and 1776 in their bios.
People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions? Like you said, and it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. But the problem with her is that she went full racist. She injected skin color into a fairly generic behavior seen in all spouses, regardless of skin color. People marry, they listen to each other, they have something in common with them, they share their political views. She just didn't want to upset her husband by saying her husband makes her do everything, and then she'd have to accuse him of being a racist. Because if he told her that this is what white women do, then he's a racist.
The wildest part? Tomi didn't even go savage. She just let Sunny unravel. No yelling, no clapback, just calm eyes and a smooth pivot into her go-to TED Talk on the American dream, legal immigration, and merit. It was like watching someone sidestep a puddle while the other face-planted. By the time the show cut to commercial, the tension was thick. Even Joy Behar looked ready to vanish behind her glasses. Let's be real, this wasn't a debate. It was a reminder that political discourse has turned into a high school food fight. Ancestry digs aren't arguments. They're distractions dressed up as drama.
Finn's obsession with race gets thrown back in her face. Today's video comes to us from Sunny Hostin. Sounds like a town. We're in Sunny Hostin. She was on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show dedicated to researching celebrity ancestry. For context, Sunny is a staunch supporter of reparations and has made a fortune spewing nonsense about white privilege and racial justice. Well, turns out she's not as oppressed as she claims she is. She's actually the descendant of slave owners from Europe. Here's how she took the news.
Just when you thought the circus had packed up, the fallout hit like a tidal wave. Think pieces dropped faster than TikToks, some calling Sunny a truth teller, others saying she crossed a line sharper than Meghan McCain's eyeliner. Meanwhile, Tomi played it smart, hit the interview circuit, posted memes of herself with Lady Liberty, and turned Sunny's jab into free publicity. Gutfeld? He was in his element, mocked Sunny's move with peak sarcasm, calling out the irony of weaponizing someone else's ancestry while ignoring your own. His roast was sharp, branding the whole thing as clout chasing, wrapped in shaky moral high ground.
I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was, my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
Yeah. So how are you feeling, my friend?
I think it's actually pretty interesting that my husband and I have shared roots.
Yeah.
Gutfeld didn't hold back. He tore into Sunny's logic, comparing it to throwing a rock in a glass house blindfolded. If we're really starting an ancestry mudslinging match, he quipped, maybe check your own branches for snakes first. Then came the real sting, the irony of Sunny, a vocal advocate for compassion and inclusion, suddenly playing immigration gatekeeper based on someone's great-great-grandparents. The switch-up was loud and the internet responded instantly. Gutfeld's clip spread like wildfire, a viral roast with a political punch. He closed with a brutal one-liner. The View isn't about policy anymore. It's just ancestral cosplay with a laugh track. Oof. Just like that, Sunny didn't just lose the argument. She became the punchline to her own setup. Viewers at home were left scratching their heads. How did we go from border security to debating someone's German-speaking great-uncle from 1873? This is the state of political discourse now, where facts are optional, but drama is guaranteed. Sunny reached into the past hoping to land a blow, but only ended up giving Tomi a bigger stage. And the wildest part? Imagine the outrage if Tomi had flipped the script and gone digging into Sunny's roots the same way. The double standard practically writes itself.
I have a question of my own. Do you lock your doors at home? At your residence, do you have a lock on your door? Do you use that lock?
I do, yeah, I do.
You have an alarm?
And why is that? You lock your door. You lock your door because you want to know who's coming into your home. It's not because you hate the people outside. It's because you love the people inside. Well, that's what needs to be done with the United States of America. That's why we have a border. We have a right to know who's coming into our country and why. That's what keeps us safe.
If Tomi had flipped the script and dug into Sunny's ancestry, the outrage would have been instant. Headlines screaming racism, hashtags trending, think pieces flooding every timeline. There'd be protest signs in Times Square, and NPR would be midway through a 12-part podcast called The Roots of Hate. But when Sunny does it, suddenly it's context, please. That's the world we're in, where performance drowns out message, and the louder the delivery, the less anyone actually hears. Like her or not, Tomi walked into The View's lion's den, had her family history dragged on national TV, and somehow walked out with more support than she came in with. Sunny? She got her usual applause, but everywhere else, shrugs, side eyes, cringe. Not because she didn't have a point, but because she buried it in pettiness. What could have been powerful felt petty. Once again. The View took a serious national issue and turned it into political gossip hour. Immigration deserves better, we all do. But until the bar is raised, we'll be here, popcorn in hand, watching the chaos unfold.
Why do you think you've resonated with so many people?
I think, in large part, I represent Middle America. So you've got the two coasts, and those individuals seem to kind of just talk to each other. And then you've got all of Middle America right there that's dying to have a voice. They don't really feel like they have one. They're not represented, beyond their communities. So I think they watch me and they say, well, she speaks like I do. She thinks like I do. She seems to maybe get it like I do. And I think that's why it's resonated. And also, I do something very different. There's not a whole lot of young conservative women out there. And so I provide that for a lot of...
What else can you do when political debate turns into a game of guess that ancestor? We've officially lost the plot. This wasn't about Tomi. It wasn't really about Sunny either. It's what happens when ideology collides with insecurity. Valid points get buried under petty digs, and somehow Greg Gutfeld ends up sounding like the voice of reason. Let that sink in. Beyond the dramatic eye rolls and table slaps, this mess revealed something deeper. How far immigration talk has strayed from actual policy. This wasn't a debate on border laws or reform. It was a culture war dressed up as a discussion. Immigration is no longer about green cards. It's about defining who gets to claim the American identity. The View has become a gladiator pit for these weekly identity showdowns, where substance takes a back seat to scoring viral burns. And the interns backstage were already prepping hashtags before Sunny even finished her sentence.
If Democrats really want to die on the hill of bringing back plane loads of criminal, illegal alien gang members...
But you haven't proven that they're criminals. That's the problem.
Be my guest.
Honestly, look, I will be the first one to say if there is a...
And here's the kicker. When one side weaponizes family history and the other fires back with a polished, merit-based immigration TED Talk, what we get isn't clarity. It's a bizarre mashup of trauma bait and economic sermonizing. Both sides end up talking past each other, while the internet snacks on the chaos like popcorn. Sunny brought the emotions, Tomi brought the receipts, and both left thinking they'd landed the knockout punch. Meanwhile, the real question, how do we fix America's broken immigration system, got buried under a pile of viral tweets and spicy Instagram rants. Let's be real, this wasn't a conversation. It was political theater dressed up as daytime TV, a made-for-clips showdown with applause signs and snack breaks. Viewers aren't tuning in to hear ideas. They're tuning in to see who gets dragged, who breaks first, and whose face becomes the next meme. This isn't about understanding anymore. It's about going viral. And The View, they've mastered the playbook. Bring on a controversial guest, drop a loaded question like a grenade, and let the chaos unfold. By the time Twitter explodes, the show's already on a commercial break. Same formula, different headline. Nobody won this debate, not in terms of brains over buzz. What we saw wasn't a battle of beliefs, but a content clash. Two opposing worlds entered. Two viral clips walked out. These days, the loudest mic drop doesn't need to make sense. It just needs to trend.